Welcome everybody, it's Dr. Adam here again with you today. We're talking bees, and today what we're working on is some winter checks. So as part of beekeeping in northern climates, we have to deal with winter. I'm up here in Michigan's Upper Peninsula at Bee Wise Farms, and it's January 1st, and we got a nice day today. It's a little sunny out, kind of high 30s, and it's a great day to get into those beehives and make sure that your hives are doing well this winter. The big thing that we have to consider as we're moving into winter is there's a few factors that really cause honeybee death over winter. That is high varroa mite loads, moisture in the hive, and lack of food. So starvation, moisture, and varroa mites are three big factors that limit survivability, particularly in upper Michigan climates. Now here in the Upper Peninsula, we've got about 2 feet of snow on the ground right now. The bees have been, pretty much locked up since November in these hives. And as they go through the winter, what they're doing is they're clustering together and then using honey stores to burn calories to generate heat. Now that's important to understand because a lot of us think that, bees can't survive through the winter. And that's just not the case. Bees absolutely can survive just fine in very harsh climates. I hear up here in the northern or Upper Peninsula, a lot of folks tell me, Adam, we can't keep bees in the Northern Peninsula because they just die. And I say, well, that's just hogwash because we have beekeepers in Canada that do a very good job of beekeeping that have much harsher winters than we do in the UP. So that's just not the case. But there's factors that go along with keeping them healthy. And that one big factor is that they use honey to get through the winter by eating that honey, flexing those flight muscles within the thorax and creating heat. Now they don't heat the entire inside of the hive, they just heat the cluster. And so what we need to do during the winter is to make sure that there's enough food in that hive so that they can continue to burn those calories and keep the hive, or keep the cluster warm rather. So what we're doing today is we're going to go into all of these beehives. We're going to check and see where the cluster actually is. The lower in the hive that it's at, meaning that there's a lot of honey up above, means that they've got plenty of food to get through several more months of the winter or another month of our UP winter. But if a colony if that cluster has moved all the way to the top of the box, what we have to consider is that that colony has gone through all those honey stores already. And that we're actually into a situation where we may have starvation due to lack of food, and which in turn kills a colony. So we're going to go through, check these colonies, see where the cluster's at, and then determine if we need to feed them additional food. And what we're going to use today is the mountain camp method, which is basically we're just going to put a sheet of newspaper down on the top of that cluster and then just load it with dry sugar. So come in and take a look at what we've got going on in the apiary. I'm sure you're going to learn something today. I learn something every time I get into these colonies. So let's take a look together. All right, we're getting prepared to go into our apiary. And the first thing we want to do before we open any of these beehives is make sure that we have everything we need to do the job that we came to do. First thing you're going to need is a hive tool. So that's one thing that you need to have with you before you get in the bee yard. The next thing is dry granulated sugar. You're going to place sugar on each of these. Now, this is a 10-pound bag. The reason I use 10-pound bags when I'm doing winter checks is because a 25-pound bag of sugar lugging in 2 feet of snow is pretty tough to do. I don't want to have to lug that around, so a 10-pound bag is just fine. Normally, each one of these hives is going to take about 5 pounds of sugar with a 3-inch spacer on the top. The next thing we need is newspaper. Now, newspaper is a really important tool for beekeeping, and it's something I tell my students all the time. This is one of the most important things to have in your bee box. Use it for all sorts of things, like combining hives or doing the mountain camp method like we're doing today. So newspaper is another good thing to have. Your veil. Your personal protective equipment is always really important. And although the bees are not flying right now, you open these hives up, and if you have a cluster right at the top that is, in real need of food, a lot of times you will get some individuals that will fly out of the colony. And if they land on you, they a lot of times will sting you right away. They're in a defensive posture. So just preventative maintenance, always keeping the face covered is really important. You'll see that I'm not wearing a full veil or anything like that. I mean, I've got, warm clothes on, but for the most part, you just want to protect your face. The hands, you may get stung in the hands. I do have gloves on underneath my gloves. These are nitrile gloves. I have those on because I just don't want to get sugar all over my fingers and get sticky over the process of being out here. So, things like that. But a veil is definitely necessary. And then the final thing that we're going to bring with us today is a moisture board. So these moisture boards, this is a moisture board for an 8-frame hive. We have 10 and 8-frame hives in this apiary. So we want to make sure that we have moisture boards for both. But basically what this moisture board is, this is something that you can purchase from Man Lake. I think they're about $7 a piece. Really great piece of equipment that you can use over and over again. What this does is it basically just wicks the moisture that's put off by the colony. So as your colony is feeding on honey, it's respiring. And basically there's moisture being put off in the colony. And over the course of a season, a colony can put up to about 4 gallons of water. And that water has to go somewhere. If you do nothing about it to manage it in the hive, especially in northern climates, what it does is it accumulates on the inner cover and then just rains back down on the cluster and freezes out your cluster. What this looks like is generally you'll have a cluster of bees with lots of food around them that's totally dead in a hive. And people call me and say, Adam, why are my bees dead? You know, they had plenty of food, they were clustered nicely, there weren't really any mites, but they weren't wicking any moisture with any sort of moisture wicking device. So this is what we use as a moisture board. The reason that I really like this is because as we go in these colonies, I'm going to check these moisture boards to see if they're saturated. And the way you do that is this moisture board will be frozen. So I'll look at it, I'll see how much frozen area is on there. If it's totally saturated, I take it out and put a fresh one in. So you want to make sure you have these on hand with you before you get started. So those are the basic things that you're going to need to get into this apiary. In this situation, I might need to wear a pair of snowshoes. You may not be dealing with as extreme snowfall as we've had, but you want to make sure you've got everything before you go in. So now that we've gone through our equipment check, now that we've talked a little bit about what we're going to do, let's get into these hives and see what's going on. So I get a real kick out of talking to folks about keeping bees in the Upper Peninsula. And, you know, one of the things that we don't think often about is what all of our equipment entails. And, you know, one of the pieces of equipment not a lot of people think about when they're thinking beekeeping is snowshoes. But you can see that those footprints that I took to bring our bucket of sugar out with, you know, I sunk about 18 inches into the snow. You know, you want to keep these beekeeping fun and you know, safe and you know, adaptive pieces of equipment, and I would consider this an adaptive piece of equipment. You know, myself with a military injury that affects my ankle, knee, and back, you know, it's important to make sure that you're on a level surface and you have stability. So these little guys right here play a big part of that when you're beekeeping in the snow. So we're going to get on to our first hive here, and the big things that you want to make sure of is that when you get into these hives that you're gentle with them. You start pounding on them, causing a bunch of ruckus, the bees are going to respawn, they're going to break cluster, they're going to be in a defensive position. You don't want to induce any of that stress right now. It's cold outside, you know, high 30s. We want to just get in and get out. We want to get the information that we're looking for, where the cluster's positioned and how much food we have left, and then get out. And so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to open this colony first. I can tell that this colony is definitely still alive. We've got some bees out on this top entrance right here, and then I can see around the hive that there's dead bees around. Now, a lot of times people freak out about seeing dead bees. Dead bees are a good sign. Bees die over the course of their lives, and the fact that you have dead bees on the snow in front of a hive tells you that there's probably alive bees in the hive. So, not a bad thing. First thing we're going to do is wipe away this snow so that we can access our ratchet strap that's holding our hive together. I really like the ratchet strap mainly because it just secures the hive in a really good way, especially in the fall when you got a lot of predators. Here in the Upper Peninsula, we have bears, and so you can see, if you can see on the video, we have an electrified fence all the way around this apiary. But that's an important part about this, so keeping the hive secure is definitely something we want to do. So we're going to go into here, take off our top cover here. I'm going to flip that top cover over because we want to set everything on the top cover. So making sure that that's flipped over and you can get to it. Peel away our black tar paper here. You note we have a couple pieces of R5 insulation in here, keeping that top cover, the top area, the warmest part of the hive so that we don't get condensation accumulating on the inner cover. Then our next piece of equipment here is our moisture board. We're going to go open that here real quick. And I would anticipate that there's going to be bees right underneath this because of them being at the entrance here. Sure enough, you can see there's a whole cluster of bees on this top cover. So what this information tells me, the fact that this colony is all the way up at the top, tells me that this colony has already gone through its food stores. Now, here with our apiaries, we always leave a minimum of 150 pounds of food on these hives. Now, it's January 1, and they've already gone through that 150 pounds. And the reason is, I would imagine, is that this is one of our bigger colonies. So we regularly overwinter colonies here in the UP that are 4 boxes deep on a regular basis. They'll come into spring 3 boxes deep of bees. You know, we do a lot of splits with those, but we overwinter big colonies, mainly because of about how we approach this. So we leave a lot of honey on, which allows our colonies to get really, really good in size going into the fall. We make sure that they're very robust colonies going into the winter, and then that they've got plenty of food. So this colony is right up at the top, and I'm going to take this camera here and show you what's going on inside the colony right now. So here's the mountain camp method. We're going to take a sheet of newspaper. We're going to put it right on top of this cluster of bees that's already reached the top box. So by knowing that we're at the top box, we know that this colony is just about out of food. Now, it's not the entire cluster that's at the top of the box, but it's a good chunk of them, so they're up there looking for food. There is still honey in here in this top box. I can see that these outer frames in the middle, the third frame in right here, oh, you can see them come right after me. They're definitely a little stressed right now because they're probably getting low on food. So, but I can see that there's still a little honey in there. So I'm going to move very slow putting this piece of newspaper in so that we're not causing just a ton of disturbance in this colony. Again, we want to be gentle on these colonies as we're going through these processes of supplementing their food over the winter. So I'm going to just slide that under there, real slow like. All right, so a piece of newspaper is down, and now I'm just going to take the sugar, and we're literally just going to load this entire piece of newspaper with sugar. Now this is a 3-inch spacer. This 3-inch spacer, it has a top entrance as well, can hold about 7 pounds of sugar. So we just put in a little over, probably around 7 pounds in there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to push this around to flatten it out. Now this is a twofold thing that we're getting out of this. We're adding sugar, which is a supplemental food, but we're also getting more moisture wicking from our sugar. So the sugar will absorb some of the moisture coming off of the bees. So the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to check my moisture board. And we talked about this. This moisture board, you can see that there's moisture accumulating on the outside here, but the middle is completely dry. So this moisture board is still fine. I'll go ahead and keep using this for a little further into the season. You can see the other side is completely dry. So we're going to go ahead and put this in, again, slowly and methodically so we don't upset our bees. Piece of insulation in. Now, on some of these hives, we have 2 R5 pieces of insulation. Some we have an R10 piece of insulation. You know, you're not trying to keep the hive really, really warm. You're just trying to make it so that the top cover is not the coldest piece of equipment in the colony. The reason for that is that moisture condense or hot air condenses on cool surfaces. So the colder surfaces in the hive is where your water is going to condense. Now you don't want to condense on the top because you want it to basically condense on the side so that it doesn't interact with your cluster. So what we've done here is that we've augmented the top temperature of this hive by putting that little piece of insulation in so that the side walls are the coldest part of the hive. So moisture accumulates on the sides and then runs down the sides of the colony or sides of the hive, not interacting with the colony. So when I'm talking about moisture boards and their moisture content, this is a great example. So this was a hive I just went through. Big old cluster in this colony, and it's putting off a lot of water. And you can see that the inner part of this moisture board is actually got some mold growing on it and is very moist in a lot of areas. It's above freezing, so the moisture board is just wet. It's not frozen. So what we did is we went ahead and took that out. We put a new one in. And what we'll do with this one is we'll bring this inside, let it dry out, and as soon as it's dry, it's ready to use again. So a nice feature about these moisture boards is they're reusable. I've had several of ours for up to 5 years, so you get a lot of use out of these little investments. So we've just finished up our winter checks here at our Newberry yard. We went through 22 hives at this yard, and we were looking to see, one, if we had any dead outs, two, if we needed to add any food to prevent starvation over the winter, and three, to check how our moisture boards were doing and if any of those needed to be replaced. After going through all of our colonies, we found 20 colonies that are doing really well, very strong. However, most of them have gone through most of their winter stores. And so we ended up adding to those 20 colonies that are still doing really well, 100 pounds of dry sugar. So that's a lot of sugar that we've added on for supplemental feed. And we'll come back every single month after this to make sure that we have plenty of food on these. And we're likely going to be having to add quite a lot of sugar this year, mainly because these colonies just seem to be just huge. These clusters that we're seeing in these colonies look like they're around 2 to 4 boxes deep of bees. So it's a lot of bees, and we're going to have to feed them quite a lot to get these big colonies through the winter. The other thing that we found is we found 2 hives, one that was a dead out and one that had absconded. So usually absconding hives is due to hive varroa mite load. We usually see that in the late fall, that hives will just abscond a hive. I looked back at our data from last year when we were tracking our hives and hive health over the season, and the hives that absconded, we'd had problems with getting that mite load under the threshold all season long. Our last mite count that we took in early September actually showed that we still had 16 mites per 300 bees in that colony, even after treating the colony and then doing a oxalic acid treatment late in the fall. So, you know, we lost one hive to varroa mite. That's okay. Not great, but okay. The other hive that we lost was a hive that we lost due to starvation. And so that's on us. That's on us as the beekeepers. Again, a huge hive. This hive was 4 boxes deep of bees. And likely, a strategy that we may use next year to prevent some of that is on those super big colonies. We may split those colonies in the fall just to get a little bit of a lighter pressure on the amount of food that they require over the winter. So a smaller colony you can get through with a lot less honey. We've had a lot of good luck using big colonies with huge honey stores to get them through the winter. So all in all, we ended up replacing 6 moisture boards on these colonies. So we found a few hives that had pretty saturated moisture boards, so we went ahead and swapped those out for some dry ones. But all in all, this is a good looking yard. We've got a lot of really strong colonies in this yard, and since we're here in January 1st, we've really made it kind of past the risk of losing bees due to varroa mite. Usually we see dead outs due to varroa mite earlier in the winter. So we're kind of mid-season now. We're really getting things kicking here in the UP. And I'm feeling pretty confident that we'll be able to get the rest of these 20 colonies through the winter here in the UP. So that's our first check here of January for Bee-Wise Farms at our apiary in Newberry, Michigan, up here in the beautiful Upper Peninsula. Stay tuned for more of these videos over the course of the entire year. I'm going to try and do one of these at least every 2 weeks, maybe once a month. But we'll try to get these videos out there so that you all can see what we're doing and see how we're doing things here in the UP for our bees. Thanks again for watching, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon.